A man can stare into your eyes like you are the only person on earth. Talk about forever, act obsessed with you, make you feel chosen. Then, the moment intimacy happens, he changes like somebody flipped a switch. The texts slow down, the attention fades, the energy becomes cold. Suddenly, the same man who once acted addicted to your presence now responds like speaking to you as an inconvenience. And that kind of change messes with people deeply. Because now you start questioning yourself. Maybe I gave too much. Maybe I was not enough. Maybe I ruined everything. But sometimes the painful truth has nothing to do with your value. Sometimes you simply crossed paths with somebody who was acting the entire time. A lot of people do not fall in love, they fall into performance. And once they got what they wanted, the mask starts slipping. Welcome to the ugly reality of what happens when ego, lust, immaturity, and emotional emptiness collide. Let us start with the chase addiction. For many men, pursuit feels exciting because it feeds the ego more than the heart. The pursuit becomes a mission, a challenge, a game they want to win. That's why some men become unbelievably attentive in the beginning. They remember small details. They text first every morning. They suddenly become poets, therapists, comedians, and soulmates all at once. Not always because they are deeply connected to you, but because the pursuit itself gives them a rush. Their brain is flooded with excitement. Attention feels rewarding. Winning your affection becomes an obsession. But once intimacy happens, that emotional high crashes. The mystery disappears. The challenge feels completed. The excitement they were addicted to fades away. And if the connection was built only on pursuit instead of genuine emotional depth, their effort disappears with it. That's why some people completely transform after getting what they wanted physically. The version of them you met only existed during the chase. Now let's talk about emotional responsibility, because this is where a lot of cowardice hides. Before intimacy, everything feels light and exciting. There's flirting, tension, fantasy. But after intimacy, emotions often become more real. Expectations naturally grow. Attachment becomes deeper. Vulnerability enters the room. And immature people panic when relationships stop feeling like entertainment and start feeling real. Instead of communicating honestly, they begin pulling away emotionally. Not because they suddenly stopped understanding you, but because they were never prepared for accountability in the first place. A mature person says, "I'm not ready for something serious." An emotionally immature person becomes distant and confusing instead. They answer slower, show less affection, act colder over time, not accidentally. Sometimes it's intentional distancing designed to lower your expectations without having to admit the truth directly. And honestly, that's one of the cruelest forms of manipulation, because confusion keeps people emotionally trapped. Another reason this shift happens is because some men fall in love with fantasy, not reality. While pursuing you, they place you on a pedestal. You become this perfect dream in their mind, something mysterious, something they feel desperate to win. But intimacy removes fantasy and replaces it with reality. Now you're no longer some distant mystery. You're human, emotionally open, real. And emotionally shallow people struggle once things become real. Because fantasy is easy. Fantasy requires no emotional depth. Real connection does. That's why some people lose interest once they finally get close. Not because you became less valuable, but because they were more attached to the idea of you than the actual human being standing in front of them. Now let's talk about the fake nice guys, the performers, the men who study kindness like it's a strategy guide. These are usually the most dangerous because they appear safe. They say the right things, listen carefully, buy flowers, act patient, act emotionally available. But underneath all that effort is a transaction. Their kindness isn't genuine character. It's an investment expecting a reward. And once they feel like they received what they wanted, the effort disappears overnight. That's why the emotional whiplash feels brutal. Because you thought you were connecting with a real person, only to realize you were interacting with a carefully crafted character, a role, a performance. And once the goal was reached, the actor left the stage. But listen carefully to this part. Somebody changing after intimacy is not proof that you are difficult to love. It's proof that some people lack integrity. Don't confuse another person's dishonesty with your worth. Another uncomfortable truth is biology. Some men genuinely experience a sharp emotional drop after intimacy. That doesn't excuse terrible behavior, but it explains why certain immature men suddenly become emotionally disconnected afterward. Women often experience stronger emotional bonding after intimacy because of hormones tied to attachment. Meanwhile, some men experience the opposite, a temporary emotional shutdown or emotional reset. A mature man understands this and still treats you with care, consistency, and respect. An immature man lets impulse control his behavior completely. And that difference matters, because character is revealed after desire is satisfied. Anybody can be attentive while chasing something. Real maturity appears after the excitement fades. Now, here's something many people never realize. Sometimes these men become cold because they feel guilty, especially if they lied to get close to you. If they made promises they never intended to keep, pretended to want commitment, or acted emotionally invested just to gain access to your body. Eventually, guilt starts eating at them. And instead of admitting they manipulated somebody, they emotionally disconnect. Some even become irritated by your presence, not because you did something wrong, but because you remind them of the version of themselves they don't want to face. So they create distance. Sometimes they even try making you feel clingy or dramatic just so they can justify leaving without feeling like the bad guy. It's emotional manipulation designed to protect their ego. Now here's the important part. When somebody suddenly changes after intimacy, don't chase them trying to recover the version of them you first met. That version may not have been real. Don't send endless paragraphs asking what happened. Don't beg for consistency from somebody committed to confusion. Watch patterns instead of promises. A person who genuinely values you doesn't dramatically switch up once intimacy enters the relationship. Their care stays steady, their effort stays present, their respect stays visible. And if somebody treats you like an option after you treated them like a priority, believe the behavior. People driven only by conquest usually become irritated, manipulative, impatient, or distant when immediate gratification is delayed. Time exposes motives better than words ever will. Also, pay attention to how somebody behaves during ordinary moments. Anybody can perform during romance. Anybody can sound deep at midnight. But real character appears in consistency, in patience, in honesty, in how somebody treats you when there's nothing to gain. At the end of the day, somebody changing after intimacy says more about their emotional depth than your value as a person. Don't let temporary attention from emotionally unavailable people define your self-worth. Some people enter your life searching for connection. Others enter searching for validation. Learn the difference early and you save yourself years of heartbreak. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more uncomfortable truths people usually avoid talking about. And comment below. Have you ever watched somebody completely change once they got comfortable with you?